We're here for the first research support workshop of the spring 2017 semester, and today we're going to talk about searching like a pro without using Google. My name is Chelsea Stripling. I'm the instruction librarian here at Florida Tech Evans Library, and I often give workshops like these, but either way, I'm here to talk to you today about searching like a pro. So, though most of you are comfortable with or conditioned to go directly to Google when you need to search for information, that's not always the best place to look in every context. Google is good for some things, but when it comes to researching for academic level quality information, you're going to want to do what the pros do, which is use a library database. So today, to illustrate this point, we're going to compare a search using the same keywords on a database available through the library called Proquest and a web search engine called Google. So maybe you've heard of Google. So we're going to see, talk about some of the differences between those two searches. So there are 5 points of difference between web searching and database searching. And those 5 points of difference are also the 5 reasons why searching a database will get you better results than searching in a web search engine. Those 5 reasons are the number of results, the authority of the sources, the relevance of the results, the quality of the sources that are accessed, and the search features and capabilities available. So we're going to go over all 5 of those points illustrated through a search on Google and Proquest. So in order to do that, I am going to bring us to a web browser. So the first thing we have to do is navigate to our search tools. So Google is easy enough to find. We know that we just go to google.com and it brings up the Google search bar directly on the main page. To access Proquest, you have to go through the library website. This is so you're recognized as a Florida Tech student and you are granted access to all of the premium content that's available on the database, and we'll talk about more about that in a second. So to navigate to any of the databases available through the library, you can go to the A to Z databases link. This is on the upper left-hand corner of the library webpage. This is an alphabetical list of the databases available. So we know we're looking for Proquest, so we can go directly to P. And here we have a link for Proquest. Proquest, in the description, it tells us that it has many full-text articles from scholarly journals, including peer reviews, magazines, trade publications, international papers and newspapers, etc. So subject areas include the arts, business, health and medicine, history, literature and language, science and technology, psychology and social studies. That's a lot of subjects. So this is something that we call a multidisciplinary database, meaning that it covers lots of different subjects. So it's not about one specific topic. Often when you first access a database, you're going to have to log in with your tracks information. So I'm going to provide them with that. And after we log in, it should take us directly to the Proquest search page. So there are some similarities right off the bat, right? We see 2 search bars waiting for our search terms. So the next thing we have to do is actually enter in those terms. So let's say that we were conducting a research project on whether or not there is water on Mars. If we were going to search that topic in Google, you'd probably enter that topic something like this. Is there water on Mars? One of the attractive features of Google is that you can express your search terms and your search topic as either a question or a phrase. This is something that Google calls natural language processing. As you can probably tell from that term, natural language, it's used to translating the everyday sort of terms and ways that we express ourselves. So with Google, you can add a question into the search box and press enter. And as you saw, we have all of our results in a matter of seconds. We have a full list here of results about water on Mars. By contrast, let's go to Proquest and enter our search terms. So with Proquest, which is a library database, unlike Google, it does not use the natural language processing. So instead of expressing our search term as a phrase or a question, we have to distill it down into a couple of relevant keywords that will express what we're trying to find. In our case, since we're looking for water on Mars, I think water and Mars would probably be 2 appropriate keywords. So let's try those. Water and Mars. And all you have to do is type those in and press enter. And we also get a full list of results in a matter of seconds. So a lot of similarities in the offset, right? We enter in our search terms and we get results. But let's go through comparing the results that we have found according to our 5 reasons for searching a database instead of a web search engine. So the first point of difference between web searching and database searching is the number of results. With Google or any other web search engine, you're going to get millions, possibly even hundreds of millions of results on a topic, depending, again, on the keywords that you use or the way that you express your topic. Oftentimes, though, out of those hundreds of millions of results, you're going to get a lot of duplicated information, or maybe information that's repackaged and redistributed by another outlet. This happens a lot with news stories, for example. You'll read versions of the same or similar story from multiple news outlets. So with Google results, you often see a lot of those kinds of things. With Proquest, by contrast, instead of the millions or hundreds of millions of results, we're probably only going to get results in the hundreds of thousands or thousands, maybe millions, depending on if you're using one of those multidisciplinary databases, because again, they have lots of subjects to search from. But with database searching, your results, you're not going to find information that is, again, repackaged or duplicated. It's usually going to be genuine new results. So to test out that theory, let's look back at our search results. Let's go over Google first. Now, when we pressed enter, you might have noticed that it returned probably over 48 million results in a matter of 0.67 seconds. So that's a lot of information, right? Far too many individual results for one person to sort through each one in a meaningful way. That's just too much information. If we look over the actual results that we got on the list, we see things like NASA confirms evidence of liquid water. We have a Wikipedia article for water on Mars. Is there water on Mars? A year after discovery, water on Mars means colonization, etc. So looking through these titles, we might not see any duplicated titles, but a lot of this information, especially if we see it's coming from a news site, the Register is also a popular news site. A lot of this information, again, is probably that situation I mentioned with being repackaged. So it's probably information you can find repeated over and over in a lot of these different results. If we go to the second page of results, we're not seeing too much that's different. We're seeing a lot of news results again, some pictures and videos and things like that. But ultimately, ultimately we're not seeing a lot of very focused results, right? A lot of it is going to be kind of general info. The other thing to note, too, is that we have some contradictory information just based on the titles in this results list. Our first couple of results tell us that there is evidence of water on Mars, but the fourth result down says that, no, we haven't found water on Mars. So a little bit confusing, right? Not quite sure what to trust. Contrasting, if we look at the Proquest results, our search terms got us over 2 million results. So that is actually still a really large number of results. It's a lot to sort through. However, it's probably still too much for you to go through each result, but it's still a much more manageable number. We can pare it down and filter things out from there. Scanning over this list, again, we're seeing a variety of titles. We see our search terms are highlighted, so we know where our keywords occurred in the article. We're seeing things again like proceedings from conferences and information about the implications of water on Mars. We also, of course, are clearly seeing authors of articles. We're also seeing where the information is coming from. This was not present on the Google search, right? We didn't see this sort of information. We just saw listings with URLs. Here we're getting much more detailed information. And also, too, if you notice, we're not seeing author names repeated or article titles repeated, so there isn't any of that duplicated or repackaged information either. Okay, so let's go on to point number 2 as far as the difference between web searching and database searching, and that would be the authority of the sources. So when I say authority, I mean who's behind a source. So who wrote it? What are their credentials? Are they an expert in the field? What sort of knowledge and expertise are they bringing to their information, and why should we trust them? If we're looking at a Google search or any other kind of web search, for example, we're going to see that the authority of the sources is going to require some verification. As researchers, we should always be evaluating the information that we find for credibility and relevance and things like that. But with web searching, you're going to probably have to do a lot more work to evaluate the source. It's going to be a little bit harder to tell where the source is coming from, or even who the author is, or what the date is. Things like that are sometimes hard to find from a web source. The other thing about the authority of web sources is that there is no regulation. Anybody can post or publish something to the web if they have an internet connection and the capability to do so. They might not even have someone reviewing their information before they're sharing it with others. So the fact that that quality isn't checked by any sort of expert or really anyone, we can't necessarily trust it kind of on faith. Another thing with web searching is that you can't exclude certain source types. So again, we're seeing not only maybe some analysis and some academic type information, but we're also seeing like blog posts and social media results and pictures and videos, things that might not necessarily have the authority for us to use in our academic work, and that's what we want to think about. With Proquest or any other library database results, the authority is going to be really easy to determine. We're going to be able to see who the author is, where it was published. We'll also probably be able to see who that author is affiliated with. So again, if they work for a university or some other institution, all of that stuff is going to be very clear and easy to determine. There isn't usually a need to exclude source types or worry about sorting through junk with database results. Usually databases search only scholarly or academic information, so they're not actually searching through all of those ad-filled websites and social media posts and things that you normally get with a web search. Regulation of quality and trustworthiness is also very easy to identify and verify with academic information from a library database. Again, the rules for publishing in a journal and the rules for the information that gets added to a database are usually clearly listed. So as a researcher, we can verify what those rules are and whether or not they're being followed. So the trust, we can put a lot more trust into the results that we find that way. And again, if we're looking back at our searches, this is proven true. With Google, again, it's probably going to be necessary to do a little bit more evaluation on an article than it would be if we found it from a library database, because of the fact that we can't guarantee that it was regulated or that it had any kind of quality control. A prime example of a type of result that might have questionable authority is this Wikipedia article. This is the second result on our Google search. If we open up the article, again, if you're familiar with Wikipedia, we see a lot of information, and it looks like it might be good information, right? But if you're unfamiliar with Wikipedia, anybody can edit and add to a Wikipedia entry. So if we can't verify the authority of all those different authors, because we might not necessarily know who all of them are, how can we trust the information that's presented in this Wikipedia article? We can't. It's a little bit questionable, right? So with web searching, you're going to find information that's typically like this. With academic information from a library database, by contrast, we're getting a clear list of results. So again, the titles are clearly listed, the authors and the provenance of the piece, so where it was published and when it was published. All of that good background information is available to us in a library database. We even have an option to view some additional details on the articles. We can look at the abstract to get a clear idea of what the article is about. We can clearly see any subject terms related to it. This is another thing that you certainly won't see in Google, right? When we looked at the results list in Google, we're just, again, seeing titles and links with URLs. They're not taking the time to index each individual item and give you really quality information about not only what it's about, but where it came from. So that's the positive of a library database in that respect. We can get a much more transparent view of the authority. So again, it's going to be easier for us to prove that these articles have a quality base. Any questions about authority? No? Okay. Okay, so the next point of difference between the two search options is the relevance of the results. So with Google, your results list isn't necessarily sorted by the relevance of the result to your keywords. With Google, they actually use an algorithm for their search results. So the results are displayed in order of how Google thinks you might want to see them, not necessarily what's most related to your topic or what might be the best information or even the newest information on your topic. So Google search results are a little deceiving when it comes to determining how relevant they are to our terms. Oftentimes you'll see situations where you might have articles or information popping up on a Google search that's related to your topic, but just not quite right. Maybe on a different area or aspect of the topic, or maybe just, not just a little wrong. So, you might not get as focused of a result. Google searches and web searches are also including all kinds of subjects. So we're using Proquest, which is a multidisciplinary database, so it also covers a lot of subjects. However, with the web, we can't filter anything. With a library database, at least, we could filter out to exclude things that we don't want to see. We don't have that option with web searching. And with web searching, the quantity of the results does not equal quality, right? Just because we have a lot of results on a topic doesn't necessarily mean that, we're finding the best information that we can. And that's what we want to do as researchers. So on the other hand, with Proquest, the results are always sorted by relevance to your keywords. Usually, if you can resort them another way, it's clearly marked as to how to do that. With databases, you also have the option to focus on a subject or a format. So as I mentioned, if you're searching in a multidisciplinary database, but you're looking for a science topic, you would be able to exclude those extraneous subjects, for example. Overall, though, with a library database, the focused search area that they choose, again, searching only scholarly and academic type information, is going to mean a more focused result. As college students, we want to back up our papers and academic work with quality information. So if we're using information that's questionable or information that might not be at a higher analytical level, we're just going to sort of get that background general stuff that we're finding on a web search. And that's not necessarily the information that we need to use to prove our points in college, right? As college students and as professionals, as you move on in the world, you are going to be expected to find quality information. So knowing how to find that information is going to be helpful. And as we're discovering, Google's probably not going to be your best option for that. Let's see. As far as the relevance of the results on this Google results list, we see, Google thinks it's answering our question by giving us an excerpt to an article, which is helpful. But overall, we're seeing lots of news stories, and like we mentioned, lots of repackaged general information. And that's not a bad thing, certainly. If we want some casual reading on the topic and we just want to generally inform ourselves, we would be able to use this information for that purpose. However, if we were writing a paper on water on Mars and we're looking for reputable sources to back up our hypothesis, we probably won't want to use these articles. These are a little too general. They're just not in-depth enough, and they're just not quite relevant enough to the subject. But if we're looking at our Proquest results, there's no secret algorithm, so we know that our results are sorted by relevance. We have the option to change that to either oldest or newest first. We have the option to, and I pressed the preview button earlier, but again, we have the option to view the subject terms that are associated with an article. So if we're curious as to finding things that are more focused on an aspect of our topic, we can view these search term or subject terms, to determine that. This would certainly never be available with Google. They would not take the time to index and detail each individual result. You can also, with databases, usually see a exhaustive list of subjects that are included in your search. So with the terms water and Mars, we returned results that are tagged with all of these different subjects. So looking through this list can not only help you to get more focused results out of your search, but it can also help you to get inspiration or ideas for how to focus your topic and how to direct your research. So for example, for us, if we were looking for information about water on Mars, let's say we want to include ecology, humans, and water quality, but maybe we want to exclude restaurants and athletes and cities, for example. So if we do that and press apply, it's going to take a second to think about it. So by just limiting to a certain specific set of subjects, we have reduced our results total from over 2 million to 48,000. That's still a lot of results, but that's a much more manageable number. And if we continue to filter and limit our results, we're going to continue to decrease that total number, which is certainly going to help us, find things that are more focused on our topic. So the fourth point of difference between web and database searching is the quality of the sources that are accessed. So with Google, as I mentioned, anyone can post and publish things. Web information often lives and dies on the web. If it's coming from anyone with internet access, we can seldom verify the legitimacy of those publications. The thing to really think about with web searching and database searching is that Google search is free, so the information that's returning from the search is also free. If you think about the quality of information, and unfortunately this is an unfortunate truth that we have to deal with as humans, but usually you don't get a lot of quality items for free, right? If there is a lot of work behind something, there's usually some form of payment involved. So that same idea also applies to web searching. So if the search tool is free to use, the information returning is also free to access. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, but again, we have to think about the quality and the depth of the information. So if it's not what we need, we don't need to use it. Google searching and web searching will get you fewer legitimate sources than a database. But databases, again, they have strict rules for publishing. We know where the information is coming from and who it's coming from, so we can easily evaluate it. The searches and the results are not free. So this is something that maybe as a student you're not aware of. But Florida Tech pays for access to all of these amazing journals and databases and high quality academic information. So as a student at Florida Tech, you get to access them at no additional cost to you. So this is a perk of being a student at Florida Tech, is to be able to access these high quality resources. And again, we want you to use high quality information for your assignments and your papers. So it makes sense that you would be able to access all that information at no additional cost as a student. So make sure you're taking advantage of your perk of these fantastic resources as a student, because again, you're going to get more legitimate sources from a database search. The last feature, or the last point of difference between database and web searching, are the search features and capabilities. So with Google, we have very limited capabilities for customizing our search. We can basically enter our keywords. It gives us some option to limit things by time, but there's not a lot of control in the search itself. With Proquest, we have numerous customizable options and capabilities. We can use lots of different search strategies, and it allows us to get much more specific results out of an initial search. So to demonstrate that, let me show you how that works. Okay, So on a Google results list, again, we're seeing a lot of news results, again, things that are on the kind of surface information, not any of that good background, in-depth analysis. Another thing to notice about the Google results also are the dates. If they're dated, a lot of these results are over a year old. Some of them don't have dates associated with them at all. So that's another piece of information we would clearly see on a database that we can't see on Google. It doesn't, give us a lot of info. Let's see. That in-depth analysis might be present in this Google results list out of the 50 million results that we got, but it's going to be a lot harder for us to find. So we could try to use some of the search tools available in Google to limit our results, but as I mentioned, there's not very many of them available. We can limit things by time. It gives you a indication for verbatim results. I'm not exactly even sure how much of an impact that would have on your results ultimately. Google does offer you to be able to change the language of the results that you're receiving, so if you wanted to limit by language, you could. And they do have an advanced search form. However, if you're looking at, you take the time to really look through it, it's not as customizable as the form on a database. A lot of these they still don't allow you to filter out content types, so you're still getting all of the junk in the midst of all the good stuff. And a lot of these limiters have to do with websites in particular, so they're not as helpful for us finding articles and things like that. By contrast, on Proquest, we're seeing again that we have things like conference proceedings, right, as far as source types. We've also got journal articles in particular. Notice these nice little icons next to the results that tell us actually the kind of result it is. Google does not have anything like that. You can also limit by source type with a database. So again, if you're looking for in-depth information, you can verify that that sort of stuff is coming through with your search. Now, if we look at the types of sources that are returned in our search list, we're seeing again really reputable, kind of traditionally recognized publications like books and journals and things like that. Not a lot of, certainly no blogs or ad websites, right? So if we're looking, let's say, for just scholarly journals and conference proceedings and government documents on our topic, we can check those and press apply. And it's going to take a second to think about it. But look, we cut our results almost in half, down to 28,000. So that's a pretty significant difference by just filtering out those content types. So taking advantage of all the filters that are available in a database can again help you to get more focused information. You can do things in a database like limiting by full text. If we did that, we would only have 14,000 results. Full text basically means that we have immediate access to the full PDF of the article instead of just the citation information, for example. You can also limit by peer-reviewed only, which is always a great idea, especially if you're searching for information for, a paper or something like that. And most databases will also let you get really specific with the publication date and again the subject terms and things like that. So you have a lot more options to make a database search work for you. Google searches work for Google and they allow us to interact with them, but a library database is designed to work for you. So again, they're helping you to find the best information possible, the higher quality information on your topic. You can also utilize a lot of extra search strategies in a database that you cannot in Google. Their advanced search form is much more helpful. You can add your keywords into these boxes. If you have more than 2 keywords, you can add a row. But databases let you get really specific with everything from where your keyword is searched for, again, to the document type or the language. So there's lots of options to filter and customize in a database. Does anybody have any questions about database searching or web searching here in person? No? Okay, all right. Well, for those of you at home or for you guys here in person later on, you can always send your questions to me via email. My email is listed here at cstripling@fit.edu, but I'd be happy to help you out with any of your searching or any of your questions about how to get more efficient results. We also have several resources available through the library website, and I will just flash those up briefly here to finish us off. On the library homepage, you can access the research support workshops page. So that's what we're in right now, is a research support workshop. You can see the schedule for the upcoming workshops for the rest of the semester. And the great thing is you can access the archived workshops. So any workshops from previous semesters are listed here, and you can watch those at your leisure. We also offer things called research guides. So these are basically web pages created by Evans Library librarians on all kinds of topics or sometimes specific courses. So for example, there is a guide for aeronautics and aviation, and it's basically got a collection of all kinds of helpful resources and tips and tricks and things like that for researching in aeronautics and aviation. So we have lots of options available to you. The other thing that you can always do is contact a librarian. As I mentioned, I have my personal contact info, but you can use the general contact info, or explore contacting one of your subject librarians. We are here and specialize in different majors around campus, so we're happy to help you. Yes, sir. Question?